Luminary, aka Guardian, aka Blue Lantern, fixed an issue that caused Luminary weapons to use incorrect weapon strength in PvE and World vs. World. This results in a damage increase of 64% to all forge skills in those modes. Explain some things. Anyway. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back. I am Pseudo, and we got some balance notes to go through. These were posted today, December 9th, so we're going to jump right into these and see what's going on right here. This top part, you know, third-party programs might break. Winter's Day is back, but we're going to jump down to all these profession skills updates because this is a balance channel. So grab your kids, hide your wife, and let's jump into it. Profession skills. This is mostly a VOE patch, by the way, and from my cursory view, just TLDR, a lot of PvE nerfs because things are very much overperforming, like 60, 63k on some rotations. But anyway, let's get into it. We've seen a lot of positive feedback about the new elite specializations after the changes we made between the beta event and the expansion launch, but it's clear that many of them are a bit more powerful than intended. No way. This update is focused on reducing the effectiveness of overperforming specializations while we work on the next regular balance update for early next year. And by the way, we get a preview next, I think on the 15th, like next week, and it's going to be a stream on a Monday, so get subbed and followed for that, for the new balance update. And then we're getting the balance update mid-January, I believe, so very, very soon. These probably go hand in hand, like these two patches, so we'll see. Anyway, general, ground targeted skills can no longer be cast using the snap to ground target to current target option if their targets are off screen or behind an obstacle that hides them from the camera. This is a huge issue if you've been fighting any hollow smiths with short bow or anything with the NG short bow, because you could just cast it from space. Lots of other skills like this, so good to see there. Also, Relic of Castora getting hit from 25% down to 20% reduced healing in World vs. World and PvP. This relic is nuts, by the way. It's basically just a better relic of the monk. So, hitting the supports a little bit across the board there. Anyway, elementalist, evoker, fiery might. This trait no longer increases burning damage. So no longer double efficacy for might there. Familiar's prowess, reduce the condition damage bonus from 7% to 5% in PvE only. Reduce the strike damage bonus from 7% to 5% in PvE only. Familiar's focus. Reduce the condition damage bonus from 20% to 15%. Don't know if I said prowess or focus there. In PvE only, reduce the strike damage bonus from 20% to 15% in PvE only. So a lot of these numbers just coming down for PvE. However, there are some World vs. World PvP changes, so stay tuned. Ignite consecutive strikes from the skill now increase the burning duration instead of the number of stacks, which is great, so you can't just insta-nuke somebody with this. I'm actually okay with that. Conflagration, reduce the burning damage, or duration, sorry, from 6 to 4.5 seconds in PvE only. Sunspot. Now, trait now has a 5-second internal cooldown when specialized in fire attunement. So this is a trait, I believe, in the fire trait line, Sunspot. So it's interesting they're adjusting this specifically for not only evoker, but fire evoker. So very micro coding going on here. I guess they do have the technology for that. Flame expulsion. This trait now has a 5-second internal cooldown when specialized in fire attunement. Same thing. Specialized element adjusts the basic attack skill recharge reduction from 2 seconds to 10% of the skill's recharge time. Interesting. That's actually bonkers. Adjusted the empowered skill recharge reduction from 6 seconds to 20% of the skill's recharge time. That's actually a huge hit for really low cooldown skills. So specialized elements, I believe, is the one where that you just trade into like fire or earth or, you know, heart or whatever it is, and you get very low cooldowns on those skills. Now you're gonna, a lot of those low cooldown skills are going to be much less spammy, I believe. If I'm reading this correctly. So very, very interesting to see. Maybe, you know, Toad or pure lightning evokers overperforming or something. Electric enhancement, reduce the power coefficient from 0.55 to 0.4 in PvE only. Zap, reduce the power coefficient from 0.3-ish to 0.26-ish in PvE only, and reduce the bonus critical damage against marked enemies from 4% to 3% in PvE only. Lightning Blitz. This actually already got hit in PvP World versus World, so I guess it's coming down a bit in PvE as well. Lightning Blitz reduced the power coefficient from 0.152 to 0.122 in PvE only. So far, these have only been PvE changes. However, Familiar's Blessing in PvP World vs. World, Fire now grants Might instead of Quickness, and Air now grants Fury instead of Quickness. So they are actually removing Quickness from Familiar's Blessing for Evoker for PvP and World vs. World, which is quite a significant change, actually. Quickness is something that Elementalists haven't really traditionally had outside of Sigils, so it's interesting that they got it at all with Evoker. Their cooldowns or their cast times are already very fast, so it makes somewhat sense to sort of relegate that boon to be a specialty boon, I suppose, but I feel for my Evoker friends, that's unfortunate. Engineer, Amalgam, Mercurial Tendencies, increase the cooldown reduction from 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds in PvE only. Bolic Composition, reduce the poison duration from 6 to 3 seconds in PvE only. Willing Host, reduce the strike damage from 15 to 5%, remove the condition damage increase in PvE only. It's interesting. That's a huge number. I didn't, like, when I read it, I didn't believe that this got just like 15% damage bonus always, but this is definitely one of those main levers that they pulled. Amalgam's been doing ludicrous damage in PvE, so this makes sense. It'll be really interesting to see where a lot of these end up in terms of like benchmarks and stuff. Symbiotic Synergy, increase the morph damage increase from 10% to 33% in PvE only, which is huge, so I guess they want it to be more burst heavy when you go into your morph form. New Genes, increase the might stacks from 3 to 4 and the might duration from 6 to 12 seconds in PvE only. Increase the offensive protocol obliterate might duration from 6 to 12 in PvE only. Honestly, in my opinion, they could do that in PvP as well. Obliterate's not used that much, but we'll see. Double Helix, increase the attributes bonus from 50 to 100% in PvE only. Definitely moving some of the power around in the spec, actually. Maybe it actually won't get hit. It probably will. This is a huge nerf, but moving a lot of the power around on Amalgam to be in that morph state. Very interesting. Offensive Protocol Shred, reduce the power coefficient from 1.065 to 0.9585 in PvE only. I'm not going to read all these enormous numbers. So that's coming down just a little bit. It's weird. Anyway, Obliterate, reduce the power coefficient from 3.2 to 2.88 in PvE only. Offensive Protocol Pierce, reduce the power coefficient from 3.2 to 2.88 in PvE only. Demolish, reduce the spin power coefficient from 1.0 to 0.9 and the spin smash power coefficient from 2.5 to 2.25 in PvE only. Defensive Protocol Thorns, which is getting also hit, even though it's defensive. JK, this is the bonus retail bonus strike thing. Reduce the initial power coefficient from 1.5 to 1.0, and the Thorns power coefficient from 1.0 to 0.5 in PvE only. Gaseous State, fixed an issue that prevented the skill from properly removing movement impairing conditions when applied by different sources, which is actually a huge buff. I noticed this a little bit when I was using it in World vs. World. Luminary, aka Guardian, aka Blue Lantern, fixed an issue that caused Luminary weapons to use incorrect weapon strength in PvE and World vs. World. This results in a damage increase of 64% to all forged skills in those modes. Explain some things. Anyway, Radiant Justice, a warning area now is displayed to enemies only, increased the explosion power coefficient from 0.91 to 1.05 in PvP and World vs. World. Dazzling Hammer, I can't believe this was 64% on forged skills. Holy crap. Dazzling Hammer, reduce the power coefficient from 2.5 to 1.5 in PvE only. Reduce the power coefficient also in PvP and World vs. World from 0.91 to 0.75. So Dazzling Hammer is the 2 that does all the damage. Interesting that that's also coming down. I mean, I suppose this is only World vs. World, really, in terms of competitive, right? But holy crap. That's this first note, man, has got me. That hit me. That's funny. Shining Spin, reduce the power coefficient from 2.25 to 1.55 in PvE only. Reduce the power coefficient from 1.2 to 1.05 in PvP in World vs. World. Gleaming Blade, reduce the power coefficient from 2.1 to 1.8 in PvE only. Radiant Armaments, reduce the Radiant Hammer strike damage bonus from 10% to 7 in PvE only. Sovereign of Light, reduce the power coefficient from 2.2 to 1.7 in PvE only. Honestly, you could nuke this in every game mode still. Resolute Stance, reduce the initial ally healing from 6,550 to 3,350 in all game modes. This is actually huge. So their healing stance is just kind of bonkers, in case you didn't know, chat. Sorry, my stupid face is covering this up. Their healing stance is just an AoE heal, and it's a flat, like, ludicrous amount. So it's actually nice to see this coming down a little bit. So maybe Receive the Light will get some play, right? Probably won't, but still, who knows? Maybe in the next patch. Illuminating Inspiration, reduce the recharge from 4 seconds to 3 seconds in World vs. World and PvP. So, yeah, this first note still just, that's great, dude. Not great for Luminaries. I'm sorry if you were enjoying your absolutely cracked damage coefficient there, but I guess maybe it'll be a little bit more balanceable now. Troubadour, Mesmer, Tale of the Second Scion, increase the cooldown from 15 seconds to 20 seconds World vs. World and PvP. I believe this is their heal skill, which has like a ludicrously low cooldown, so they can spam it, kind of. Very interesting to see there. Harmonious Harp, increase the cooldown from 30 seconds to 35 in World vs. World and PvP. No nerfs for the invuln duration, so I suppose you're still fighting like straight 7 seconds of invuln Troubadours, but trade-offs or something, I guess. Ritualist, Spirit Strength, fixed an issue that prevented this trait from affecting spirits other than their auto attacks. That seems important. Essence Blast, reduce the power coefficient from 1.05 to 0.75 in PvE only. Splinter Weapon, reduce the power coefficient from 1.0 to 0.5 in PvE only. Reduce the power coefficient from 0.5 to 3.5 in World vs. World only. Splinter Weapon is one of those that's just like doing bajillions of damage. So, and again, remember, you share this out, so this small, in quotes, small reduction that they do here for World vs. World, actually quite sizable, because they're basically Venoms. So nice to see, I suppose. Maybe Ritualist will get something other than just burst damage. Innervate Anguish, reduce the power coefficient from 1.8 to 1.3 in PvE only. Explosive Growth, this trait no longer grants bonus to outgrowing strike damage at all. So I guess retains its other effects, but just not that. Lingering Spirits, I'm kind of okay with that. I wish they'd sort of lean back into purity of purpose on traits, but anyway, here we are. It's 2025. Who cares? Almost 2026. Happy New Year, guys. Sorry. Lingering Spirits, reduce the strike damage from 15% to 7% in PvE only. Empowering Spirits, this trait now grants vigor instead of quickness in PvP and World vs. World. Another thing losing quickness. Very interesting. Anguish, reduce the power coefficient from 0.08 to 0.066 in PvP World vs. World. Remember, you still have like Relic of the Pirate Queen that you can equip here, guys, but like, I guess it's more specialized now. If you really want that quickness. Wanderlust, reduce the power coefficient from 0.09 to 0.075 in PvP World vs. World, and Ritualist Shroud increased the life force drain rate from 3 to 5% in World vs. World only. Ritualist is kind of just the new Scourge. The cliff notes on this is probably why they're doing this, where you just dump all your spirits at range in a full berserker gear and do a buttload of damage to an enemy Zerg. So a lot of these sort of make sense. You still get the bomb, but you get less duration bomb and almost a less intense bomb with these two nerfs to Anguish and Wanderlust. All right, interesting. So far, very, very, very few buffs, other than shifting some power around on Amalgam, which honestly, I'm okay with. I've said this game needed a nerf patch. This game needed a nerf patch. I'm glad to see this game getting a nerf patch. Sorry to everyone who wanted just juiced VOE specs, but hopefully things will be a little more balanced and maybe get some more flavor in the future too. Ranger Gale Shot, Bird of Prey, reduce the damage from 10% to 5% in PvE. Hawkeye, reduce the power coefficient per hit from 1.6 to 1.36 in PvE. Luster, reduced the power coefficient per hit from 0.8 to 0.64 in PvE. Fleeting Zephyr, reduce the power coefficient from 1.5 to 0.8 in PvE. And Quarry's Peril, reduce the power coefficient from 2.0 to 2. What? Quarry's Peril, reduce the power coefficient from 2.0 to 2.5 in PvE. That's not how numbers work, ArenaNet. I had to read that like 6 times. Who knows what's going on with Quarry's Peril, guys? We might have gotten a reduction up. Yeah. Sorry, my brain broke. Math is sometimes hard. I don't know. Check back later for what's going on with Quarry's Peril. Maybe it's getting a buff. Who knows? But I think this is supposed to be a 1.5 if I had to guess. I doubt it. Anyway, the big one. Let's get into it. Here's it. No conduit changes. Nothing at all. They're actually buffing it. No, Revenant Conduit, aka the thing that ruined the last bit of the longest PvP season ever. Release potential assassin. Increase the power coefficient from 1.1 to 1.3 in PvE. Scared you, didn't I? Almost said PvP world versus world. Reduce potential mesmer. Reduce the torment duration from 8 to 6 seconds in PvE. Reduce the torment count from 5 to 4 in PvE. Decrease the torment duration per affinity from 10% to or 15% to 10% in all game modes. All right, so if you only play PvE in this game, there's this thing called Conduit, which just does AoE everything right now in PvP and world versus world. It's a nightmare to fight. Literally, because it turns into its demon stance and then you can't play the game. So we'll see if that gets hit at all in these notes. Hex Eater Vortex, reduce the torment duration from 8 seconds to 5%, or 5%, 5 seconds in PvE only. Twin Moon Sweep, increase the power coefficient from 2.0 to 2.5 in PvE only. Reduce the energy cost from 30 to 25. Interesting, so they're actually buffing Raja a little bit here. Bolstered Bonds, in all game modes it looks like, at least they'll reduce the energy cost part. Bolstered Bonds reduce the specific attribute increase from 150 to 75, and the all attribute increase from 75 to 50 in World vs. World and PvP. So it's less of just a stat stick, which is the thing that makes, like, part of the thing that makes Conduit and things like, what's the other one? Elementalist. Why am I blanking on this? It also starts with C. Catalyst, sorry. Very, very strong. Form of the Mesmer. Pain Absorption. Increase the energy cost from 10 to 20 in World vs. World and PvP, which is enormous. Banish Enchantment. Increase the energy cost from 10 to 15 in World vs. World and from 5 to 15 in PvP. Much less spammable when you're in this form of the Mesmer. Call to Anguish. Increase the energy cost from 10 to 20 in World vs. World and PvP. So this is when you're in your super form of the Mesmer. It's interesting that so far only, we're not done with the notes, but only the Raja super form has been hit, not the base sort of Malik stuff. So hopefully Herald will still be quite viable for you Herald enjoyers and whatnot out there. Form of the Warrior. Increase the internal cooldown from 0.25 seconds to 0.5 seconds in World vs. World and PvP. This is for that ticking retail effect. It was very funny when Conduit first came out. This actually did not have a range on it, so you could just pop this, and then if something was hitting you somehow with like a trap or something from the other side of the map, you would retail against them. Again, because it's just old school retail. Very funny, very broken. Interesting that that's just getting an internal cooldown increase. Form of the Dervish. Increase the power coefficient from... It's also interesting that they can split that, seemingly, from World vs. or PvE and World vs. World PvP. Anyway, Form of the Dervish. Increase the power coefficient from 0.3 to 0.525 in World vs. World and PvP. So they're really leaning more into, like, Raja power. Mistfire. This trait now burns enemies instead of dazing them. Thank God when Cosmic Wisdom is active. Reduce the burning duration from 5 seconds to 4 seconds in World vs. World and PvP. So Mistfire is another one of those traits that just has no counterplay. It did like this untelegraphed daze when you would go Cosmic Wisdom and just insta interrupt the whatever you were fighting. So it was very, very difficult to play and counterplay in terms of PvP and World vs. World. So I guess it just burns, but burning's definitely better than the daze, in my opinion, to deal with. Enhanced Embodiment. Increase the recharge reduction from 20% to 30% in World vs. World and PvP. And Release Potential Dervish. Increase the casting time by 0.3 seconds. I honestly don't think this is enough. This is big. Well, okay, so I take that back. The Form of the Mesmer stuff is big. The Form of the Mesmer, I believe, increases your cooldowns and basically just makes it so you can spam all your buttons. I think this makes it so you have to build up a lot of, like, these nerfs basically make it so you have to build up a lot more energy before you go into your Form of your Mesmer, in terms of, or like, relative to what you used to. But we'll see. People are hoping Conduit remained viable and didn't get hit too hard. I think, honestly, if anything, this just makes you run Raja instead of Dwarf Stance or Shiro with it, but Hey, we'll see. Let me know in the comments. Tell me I'm wrong, etc., 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 or right. Anyway, Beef, Antiquary, the other one that's been kind of like low-key broken and kind of going under the radar. Forged Surfer Dash, increased the radius of the bombs from 80 to 120. That's actually nice because those never hit anything. Reduced an issue that caused the burning count and duration of the bombs dropped by the skill's beneficial effect to differ from those dropped when the skill is activated. That's weird. Mistburn Mortar, reduced the burning duration caused by the trait enhanced version of the skill from 3 to 2.5 seconds in all game modes. Reduced the burning duration from the skill's beneficial effect from 6 to 3 seconds in PvE only. So some of the burning on Antiquary coming down, I suppose. Stone Summit Cannon, reduced the burning duration on regular strikes from 5 to 4 seconds in PvE only. Reduced the burning duration on backfire skills from 8 to 6 seconds in PvE only. Combat High, reduced the outgoing strike damage and condition damage bonus from 3% to 2% in PvE. And Possessive Hoarder defensive artifacts now grant alacrity instead of regeneration in PvE only. What? Okay, so I guess Antiquary is now... Sorry, I had to look that up. I guess Antiquary is now officially an alacrity support spec in PvE. Very interesting. Yeah. Gonna be kind of nice for some Antiquaries running around out there wanting to at least do DPS alacrity, maybe even a Condi build. Who knows? That's cool. That's neat. Good to see there. See, there's a lot of like really weirdly important changes in this patch that they kind of snuck in, like the moving around of quickness, shifting around of Amalgam's power, this stuff, Conduit getting deleted. Not really, but we'll see. Anyway, the one you've all been waiting for, Warrior, it's time. Let's go through it. We got some core Warrior changes, interesting. Valiant Leap, reduce the might duration from 8 to 6 seconds in World vs. World only. Reduce the Fury duration from 4 to 3 seconds in World vs. World only. This is the 2 on staff. I suppose if I had to cope real hard, they're moving some of the power around to Paragon, but we'll see. Reduce the Aegis duration from 4 to 3 seconds World vs. World. Reduce the protection duration from 4 to 3 seconds World vs. World. Honestly, it's whatever. You can build boon duration. They're still good buttons. Banner of Tactics, increase the cooldown from 30 to 45 seconds World vs. World only. This one's big. This one is actually used in Zergs quite a lot. It's the stun break stability skill. It's weird that it's getting hit at all. I guess let me know if somebody's running this over something like Stand Your Ground. Stand Your Ground is just a better version of Banner of Tactics, really. So, not really sure why this is getting hit, but I don't know. Roy probably felt like he had to do something here or something. Paragon, on your knees, increase the power coefficient from 0.8 to 1.5 in PvE only. Oh, so Paragon actually getting a PvE buff here, sort of. Find their weakness, increase the power coefficient from 1.0 to 2.0 in PvE only. So these are a couple of the offensive commands. Never surrender, increase the recharge time from 20 to 25 in World vs. World only. Brace yourselves, reduce the protection duration from 3 to 2 seconds in World vs. World only. Brisk pacing, maybe they really want you to build boon duration on Paragon, maybe that's it. Brisk pacing, the damage and condition duration, or damage increase, sorry, let's start over with that. Brisk pacing, the damage and condition damage increase has been changed from 7.5, 15%, and 25 to 10%, 20%, and 30% in PvE, which is cool, I suppose. Chant of Action, reduce the might stacks on the initial activation from 2 to 3, or 3 to 2 in World vs. World only. Don't have another Quarry's Peril situation. Reduce the Fury duration on initial activation and the second and third levels of the refrain from 2 to 3 seconds in World vs. World only. Yeah, so I assume this also affects Minor Chant of Freedom, but maybe they missed it, or whatever it's called, Cold Eye Action, who knows. Chant of Freedom, decrease the resolution duration granted by the second, third levels of the refrain from 3 to 2 in World vs. World only. Decrease the protection duration granted by the third level, the refrain from 3 to 2. And Inspiring Implements, this trait now grants adrenaline as well as motivation while swapping weapons and grants additional adrenaline when no refrains are active. That's actually enormous. I wish they told us how much adrenaline. Maybe it's another situation where we get the Grandmaster and they never give us numbers. That's weird. Give us numbers on this ArenaNet. But I like that they added the like special notes, or they left the special notes for last on sort of every class here. A lot of really interesting stuff. Yeah, don't know what's going on with this Quarry's Peril thing. But yeah, that's it. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. What you're thinking. Try some matches, see how it feels, and then revise your angry comment or whatever it is, your calm comment. We need to bring those into YouTube, but Yeah, I'm Pseudo. We'll be back on Wednesday for more streams. I'm really excited to jump back into PvE because I believe there's a real PvE season going on now. So it's going to be fun. We get a preview for the balance patch on the 15th. The bigger, sizable, notable, hopefully they fix Bladesworn one, haha. So get subscribed and followed for that. We'll be doing a sort of commentary stream, so feel free to come chill with us. But yeah, we'll be back on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Lots of streams, theory crafting, build crafting. But cheers. I hope you have a wonderful day. Like, subscribe, follow, all that nonsense for when I go live, and I'll see you in Tyria. Peace out.